On Sunday, a 13-point underdog won outright, a 9-point underdog won straight up. Week 9, totally, and I mean totally unpredictable in this fake football world that on any given week we say is unpredictable. So that means some shocking fantasy stars and duds in all of your lineups. Hayden, though, we have to start off with potentially an AFC championship preview as the Buffalo Bills at home improved to 6-2 over the now 5-4 Kansas City Chiefs, 28-21. What life lessons and football lessons should we take away from this one?
It was another fantastic game. Josh Allen was superb. I think just zooming out real quick for standings purposes, there's 4 teams that have only lost 2 games in the AFC. Right now, if the playoffs started today, the Chiefs would not be in now that they're 5-4. So this one had huge implications just for tiebreakers, eventually for the first seed who's going to get the bye. But now the Chiefs have a lot of work cut out for them. Buffalo Bills, it just comes down to when Josh Allen is 3 for 3 down the field, the ground game's working, and then you're getting some yards after the catch plays, it's a really difficult team to beat. So no turnovers here. I think the standout player, we're so used to Josh Allen being excellent. It's just the emergence of Dalton Kincaid, who was fantastic throughout the entire game, easily paced the team in reception or in receiving yards at 101, tons of big plays, some nice yards after the catch plays, beating players to the sticks as well. So he's not a full-time player, but on a per route basis, he is now the most efficient tight end in the NFL. I haven't updated that for Brock Bowers, but he's been fantastic. So big game ball to him. Khalil Shakir was utilized underneath as well. And then James Cook was dominant on the ground. So it was a lot of like the dink and dunk stuff and then 3 downfield passes. And that was it.
You kind of answered my question, but I'll ask it anyways. We've seen the Bills obviously be good this year. They were 5-2 entering this one, now 6-2. Many of those games that they've really won handedly have been through James Cook. He's been one of the best runners, pure runners in the NFL. In situations where they have to press, where they have to expand their passing offense, which is, like you said, kind of underneath passes, is the key to everything. Dalton Kincaid, like, is that the answer that we were arriving to here in 2025?
Yeah, there were some nice man coverage wins underneath and then a couple zone ones as well. But yeah, Khalil Shakir is kind of like all right, let's get in the rhythm of the offense, dink and dunk. Let's see if he has the yards after the catch to use. And once again, he had 53 yards after the catch. That's Khalil Shakir. But Dalton Kincaid, it's more of the layered throws. You can kind of hit him more up the seam, did some downfield routes near the sideline too. But there was just a really nice man coverage win up the middle. So still was at about half the snaps, but was extremely effective on them. And I do, like in our preview with this, I felt the spines of each one of these defenses was just a lot weaker going into this game than in previous iterations of this matchup. That was true for the Chiefs. I thought that their safeties and just in general, their pass rush, I also think was pretty lackluster in this one. And then on the Bills' spine of their defense, Cole Bishop was making a ton of plays at the safety position. And then they got a nice interception from Maxwell Hairston. So I think the spines of the defense, I thought both of them were weaknesses. And the Buffalo Bills, their spine of the defense just made more plays than Kansas City.
Well, let's talk about that Bills defense, because when you keep this Chiefs offense to 21 points now that they're back to full strength, a Bills defense that had been questioned at different points this year.
Yep.
They were out at Oliver, who's arguably their best pass rusher up front, defensive tackle up front. We've talked about their linebackers. They're getting a bit healthier there, and their safeties had been picked on. You know, it's not the Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde days of it all. So was this almost a perfect storm of everyone playing to their highest level? Because anytime I did catch this game out of the corner of my eye, Joey Bosa was doing something to Jawan Taylor or more on the left tackle.
Yeah, Bosa made a really nice play towards the end of the game, forced a pressure, and that Mahomes on like a 3rd and 10 kind of just like arm punted it, and that's where Maxwell Harrison, the rookie corner. So like those two guys stepping up in a big moment. That was the only turnover of the game. But like you said, yeah, it was just Cole Bishop making some plays, and then Patrick Mahomes was just never like throwing the ball on time. So like they drove the ball early. Rashid Rice had a nice wildcat touchdown. Kareem Hunt got his signature goal line touchdown. Kelsey had some yards after the catch moments. Each wide receiver had like one intermediate to downfield moment. But throughout the entire game, it felt like Patrick Mahomes was just like not working in rhythm as much as he typically does. I don't think that he played poorly, but he was holding on to the ball for a lot of this. So I want to go back and watch what the Buffalo Bills were doing in the secondary, just schematically on this. But we did not see like a crazy amount of Patrick Mahomes scrambling in this one. He only had, it looks like, just 5 yards on the ground here as well. And it was the lowest completion percentage of Patrick Mahomes' career. So the Buffalo Bills scheme was doing something right on the secondary. It's kind of hard to tell exactly what that is on the broadcast view, but on Stats vs. Film, we'll both go back and watch that. But he just did not feel like he was in rhythm, and there was just like not as many back-breaking downfield plays as we're used to.
Just to run through the stats there, Mahomes, like you said, 15 of 34, 250, 1 interception. I was expecting more rushing from him here as well. Just one carry for 5 yards when he's been rushing more this season than he ever has before in big games or even small games. Kareem Hunt, let's talk about this backfield because it's without Isaiah Pacheco. He gets 11 carries, 49 yards, and a 1-yard touchdown run. And then Brashard Smith, just 3 carries for 7 yards and an offer in the receiving department. Did that play out how you thought it would?
They got Brashard Smith one screen in the final quarter, and like I think it might have even been their second to final drive there, and it just went off the alignment's helmet. But he only played 12 snaps, so Kareem Hunt played 47 of 60 snaps. Brashard Smith was just not trusted. Maybe I wasn't expecting it to be that extreme, but the reality is this was a playoff environment. Are you really going to use the 7th round rookie versus Kareem Hunt, who they rode for the entire season basically last year? So we'll see. I thought Kareem Hunt played all right ball, nothing too crazy, but he did have a couple nice runs and finished one off at the goal line. So I'm expecting Pacheco to miss another week or so, and I will be ranking Kareem Hunt as an RB2.
Okay, I do have a question because for weeks you have believed that the Kansas City Chiefs are the best team in the NFL. Now at 5-4, and like you're saying, if the playoffs started today, they would not be in it. They're third in the AFC West. Coming up on their schedule next, it's the Broncos, the Colts, the Cowboys, and the Texans over their next 4 games. Your current state of mind here on the Kansas City Chiefs?
Yeah, well, I mean, the 2 teams that they're facing next, and the Broncos and Colts, have only lost 2 games the entire season. So these are huge wins. The Chiefs are going to have to win games on the road instead of in Arrowhead for the playoffs, most likely. So the schedule is not easy for them down the stretch. Like you mentioned, they're still an extremely good team, but the Bills, they were making some plays on defense, and they were not doing that in previous iterations. So right now, the Buffalo Bills, they keep getting them in the regular season, and then Patrick Mahomes goes into the playoffs and beats them. These 2 teams felt extremely even, and I think that Buffalo getting Maxwell Harrison, I think that could be a big player for them, just getting some juice. If Bosa was playing as well as he did at times here, that would be really nice as well. And then hopefully they get some defensive tackles back for the playoffs. So I think Ed Oliver's out for the regular season, then he's going to be due back. The Chiefs, they're still missing a true edge rusher. And then I just think in general, their secondary is not as good as it was. When you had McDuffie and Snead, and they had quality safety plays, that's when they were a top 3 defense. I think this defense is closer to maybe 10th in the NFL, and that's largely driven around McDuffie and Chris Jones, who's still playing well, but maybe is not as lethal as he was a couple years ago. So I think that's where the Chiefs have come down a little bit of a step. But yeah, I mean, Josh Allen was 23 of 26. I believe that was the highest completion percentage of his career, and Mahomes, that was the lowest of his career. So I think you're just summarizing this game, what happened, those kind of 2 offenses felt at a little bit more in rhythm versus less in rhythm.
This really is significant, though, for the Bills. Again, we talk about them on a weekly basis. We know the comeback victory they had in Baltimore, or I should say against Baltimore in week 1, 41-40. Other than that, though, they really hadn't played anyone that they've beaten, right? They beat the Jets, the Dolphins, the Saints, and the Panthers after that, then lost to the Patriots and the Falcons. So the Chiefs are really the first one up there in terms of their next big victory after that Ravens game in week 1. And then they play the Dolphins next week. So if they can continue this trajectory, this Bills passing attack certainly is not perfect, but I do like that Joe Brady has altered what he even did last season with these 3 tight end sets. And, both Dawson Knox and Jackson Hawes getting 30 plus snaps, then Don Kincaid popping in there as the receiver. It really is James Cook, then Josh Allen making magic, and then utilizing these trio of tight ends and weaponizing them in different ways. That I guess that is the new wrinkle for what this team is in 2025.
And those two other tight ends are worth mentioning. Dawson Knox on a little play action play, more of a design play, gets him downfield for a 30-yard gain. And then Jackson Hawes, that was more out of structure because of Josh Allen. He has an 18-yard gain. So those are those only 2 receptions for those 2 other tight ends, but 2 explosives there. And then Dalton Kincaid catching 6 for 6 for 101 and 1. So yeah, it's really Khalil Shakir, the tight ends. Like looking at Keon Coleman, 2 for 17. I can't even tell you what 2 receptions he had. He was like largely quiet in this one once again. So it's a really unique, highly efficient offense that is winning with some explosives, but it's not like the huge aerial attack that Josh Allen could play with. This team like really does remind me of the Chiefs from like the last couple seasons where they were kind of like, is it a perfect offense? It's not, but it's a very tough offense to stop ultimately.
Now, I guess my point there is, who is their get off the field player, on defense? Can it be Joey Bosa? Because in previous years for the Chiefs, it has been Chris Jones to be that for them. So maybe someone from the Bills needs to step up and claim that role.
Last note, Jess, it was wild to see, and this is, I think, a hat tip to what the Buffalo Bills offense was. It was 4th and 17 with 14 minutes left in the game, and the Chiefs decided to go for it, and of course, just immediately converted it. So it was not the greatest game for Patrick Mahomes, but that was him buying some time, running that wasp play for a chunk gain there. So I think that aggressiveness, which is pretty much like I don't remember seeing a team being that aggressive with that much time remaining. That's how nervous the Chiefs were that they were not going to be able to stop the Buffalo Bills, and I do not blame them whatsoever.
Well, we mentioned the Denver Broncos. Let's go there next because they are 7-2 now as they go into Houston and beat the Texans 18-15, which drops Houston to 3-5 on the season. Overall, this was an incredibly ugly game. Let's open with CJ Stroud. Early on, he had conversions of 3rd and 6, 3rd and 8, a 4th and 2 before stumbling on a 3rd and 5 as a whole on offense. They set up for, a mid-range field goal and it misses. And in fact, Danico Autry has his 14th blocked kick of his career. 14 block kicks in Danico Autry's career. That might be the craziest stat.
He's underpaid.
Unfortunately, later on, CJ Stroud slides on a 3rd down scramble, gets hit legally in the chest, but as he's doing that, his head smacks the turf, and he exits with a concussion after being down on the ground. He doesn't even go in the blue tent. He just goes straight to the locker room, and he misses for the entire game. Bo Nix, on the opposite end of that, was absolutely dreadful for 3 quarters plus. I mean, at halftime, he was 6 of 17 for 76 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. I mean, the interception was absolutely horrible. Cortland Sutton looked like he was open down the field, but Bullock, a second-year player, almost looked like he baits Bo Nix's eyes and then cuts in front of him for an easy interception. The touchdown also was quite easy. It was Cortland Sutton versus Derek Stingley in the first half. And Stingley just allows a free release. I think he's expecting help over the top. No help comes. And so it's just a lob touchdown over top of the cornerback. I mean, even on 3rd and 10, you could tell that Sean Payton wasn't feeling himself. Some Bo Nix today. He was calling these screen passes. They were getting batted down before even getting to the wide receiver. And then when they were getting to the wide receiver nowhere to go. I mean, even at halftime, Davis Mills had more yardage than Bo Nix. He was 10 of 14 for 87 yards. But then 2 key second half drives told the entire story because the Texans couldn't score touchdowns. They had 5 field goals in this game. 5 field goals. So the first critical drive here for the Broncos, 3rd and 7 conversion, I think his only catch of the game, our guy Pat Bryant, to start the 4th quarter when they were down 15-7. A couple of plays later, a 29-yard downfield touchdown to RJ Harvey. It looked like almost a choice route that he then kind of bended around the sideline. And now that makes RJ Harvey. Someone posted this. I'm going to just take their word for it. This is true, Hayden. RJ Harvey is the first rookie running back with a receiving touchdown in 3 straight games since at least 1970. Okay. Not bad. And then Troy Franklin gets in for the 2-point conversion. So the game is tied 15-15. You would think, oh, that's a launching pad here for this Broncos offense. No, it's not. Broncos then punt 3 more times. And just over a minute to go, I think this one's headed to overtime unless the Texans can do something with it. But then Davis Mills and this Texans offense go 3 and out in just 24 seconds. So with how bad Bo Nix had been throwing the football that day, Bo Nix just decided to scramble on this final drive with 50 seconds to go. He had a 25-yarder, a 9-yarder, and the Broncos walk it off with a 34-yard score.
Just, I mean, a game to go move on and take a win on the road here is impressive for the Broncos. We knew this one was going to be ugly. 18-15 kind of summarizes what I thought this was going to be, just two defenses and struggling offenses in general. So very curious about the Bo Nix stuff, because I'm looking at it on throws of 20 plus more or 30 more air yards. They attempted 7 of them. The Texans caught 1. The Broncos caught none. So they were trying to take some deep shots, but that's just like, the safety play, the edge rushers, and then having those corners out there. Do those feel like prayers? Like kind of like how it was like as like a rookie when he would just airmail it, or were these just like weird disconnections for the whole offense?
Well, Marvin Mims was out for this game, so we didn't get those designed, long passes, chunk gains to Marvin Mims, which is either that or screens. That's his entire role. I think Bo Nix after the game mentioned, hey, our entire goal was to move the pocket so the edge rushers couldn't get a beat on us. I will add that Bo Nix always moves. That seems to be the game plan in every single game. And there were numerous occasions where, once again, he can just set his feet and throw a normal quarterback pass. And instead, he wants to throw it off balance. And that just ruins the placement and the accuracy of these things. And then what the Texans were doing was, there were some open cavities here or there. And the screen at times, if you watch it from a broadcast angle, a wide receiver would look like they were open. And then a safety would just come in. And Derek Stingley even dropped another interception that was gifted to him on one of those downfield passes. So it was just all around an 18 of 37 day here for Bo Nix for 173 yards. And the 2 scores, obviously, when the Texans can't put it in the end zone, changes the entire thing. I was stunned that J.K. Dobbins didn't get more work in this game. I mean, in the first half, he got 8 snaps. R.J. Harvey got 8 snaps. And then Tyler Bidet got 8 snaps. But at the time, J.K. Dobbins was averaging near like 5 yards per carry. He finishes 15 for 61. Obviously, no touchdowns on that. R.J. Harvey, we mentioned, he's actually the team's leading receiver with 5 catches for 51 yards and a score. I just think Sean Payton was quivering, thinking about what Bo Nix was going to do against this pass rush all week. And they kind of played scared heading into it. And then how he played as the game opened kind of leaned into that concern that the coach had.
It is weird, man, just because like you're describing an offense that you'd think would be extremely run heavy and that they don't trust their quarterback, but that's just like not been the case for Denver this year. So I don't know what their like identity of the offense is. It feels like it's just Sean Payton like trying to find mismatches on the whiteboard over and over and over again.
Right. But then like the more he leans into that stuff, it better work. And then when it doesn't work, then you're just losing downs on that stuff. And then you're also then not giving your quarterback an opportunity to maybe like get in the groove, as we've seen in other weeks where like in the first half, Bo Nix has been terrible. And in the second half, he's kind of gotten better. They do get the Raiders next week. So you would like to think that's like an 8-2 record here for the Broncos. Zach Allen left in this game with what looked like an ankle or a knee issue. Hopefully he is okay on top of that. And then for the Texans here, you had almost a 50-50 split between Nick Chubb and Woody Marks. 11 carries for one guy, 10 for the other. Chubb started the game. Woody Marks was in there quite a bit. He got 3 targets, 0 receptions on them too. Dalton Schultz had a nice 47-yard gain from CJ Stroud before Stroud left. It was basically looked like Hank, but then he continued his stick into like this void that was created in zone coverage and then just kept running. And then Nico Collins certainly looked like he did more than the 7 for 75 on 11 targets. But in the day, that's what happens again when they score 15 points off of 5 field goals.
Yeah, when I was watching this game early on, Nico Collins was getting peppered. It just seemed like it just completely dried up once Davis Mills was in the game. So we need CJ Stroud back. How did the offensive line look? Obviously, you're facing Nick Bonita and these guys. Did it look like a complete train wreck, or did they seem like they're making a little bit of progress since like the beginning of September?
No, I don't think it was a complete train wreck at all. I mean, if I'm looking at the sacks, CJ Stroud was sacked 2 times. Davis Mills was sacked 2 times. They did use 6 offensive linemen on 12 plays today, but it kind of shows you, I can't pinpoint a single one that worked in a massively successful way like I could have last week. Their longest gain out of it was 8 yards, and I think 4 or 5 of those plays equaled 0 yards gained. Mm-hmm. So it just wasn't as successful in the whole conversation of that. If we also want, like Christian Kirk had some early third down conversions. If we want to say which of the Iowa State wide receivers are sticking in these 3 wide receiver sets here for the Houston Texans, it's the one that no one wants to play in Xavier Hutchinson, because I think Jalen Noel played like 7 snaps in this game. Jaden Higgins got 1 target, 1 reception for 4 yards. And then, Xavier Hutchinson is the one that once again gets 5 targets, 3 receptions, and 30 yards.
For the last couple of weeks, it's been Woody Marks in Nick Chubb, like almost identically at 50-50. And then on the box score, once again, it's 11 carries versus 10 carries, and neither one really popping up as a receiver. So it's just going to be a frustrating team for fantasy, where I think week to week, the only starter is Nico Collins. And then if you're desperate, it's everybody else. And that's assuming CJ Stroud's going to get back from concussion protocol. I thought he got hit in the elbow pretty good there too. So we'll be paying attention to the injury report. It's about like 50-50 if you return the following week with the concussions right now.
Yeah. As a team, they were 4 of 18 on 3rd and 4th down conversions today, the Houston Texans. And again, they are 3-5 at this moment. It was really cool that last week against the 49ers, they look back. Against the Ravens, they look back, but then like when they're facing these Seahawks teams and the Broncos, now they have the Jaguars coming up too. So they need to start stringing some wins together if they're going to make the playoffs somehow.
But all the teams right here are the teams that are the wild cards in the AFC. The Bills, Chargers, Jaguars, then it goes the Chiefs, and then the Ravens are also in the mix. So we're not talking about like scrub teams. They're not going to catch the Colts here. So like for them to make the playoffs, that means one of the teams that we also assumed was going to make it is not going to make it. So right now, if you're looking at it, the Texans definitely an uphill battle right now, which is a complete waste of, was probably the number 2 or 3 defense in the NFL.
All right, let's go to the big upsets of the weekend. The first one, a 9-point Minnesota Viking team, underdogs on the road against the Detroit Lions, winning straight up 27-24. That brings this Vikings team to 4-4 in the year. The Lions now 5-3, but the headline that we have to discuss is JJ McCarthy once again in the starting lineup, the first time since week 2. Stat sheet reads 14 of 25, 143, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 5 sacks taken, 9 carries, 12 yards, and a touchdown there. That seems a bit all over the place.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for you to put this all into context, because I'm sure on the screen, it probably looked better than that.
Well, there were some clear pros and some clear cons. Number one, health-wise, he looked completely mobile. He was able to beat a guy to the edge and score a touchdown there. That was maybe one of his more impressive plays. They were definitely trying to get him out of structure. They were doing some bootlegs, some big play action plays. Unfortunately, when he was throwing the ball out of structure, there was inaccuracies everywhere. He admitted after the game this was not a perfect game by him by any means. Inside the pocket, when the plays seemed like a little bit more scripted, he was very, very efficient on them. He was lucky to have Justin Jefferson making one-handed touchdown grabs. There were some nice sliding grabs from the team. TJ Hawkinson kind of found a nice zone spot near the goal line on a bootleg. So that was the one play out of structure or outside the pocket where it was a conversion. But there was definitely kind of what they've been hinting at, where the feet and then the accuracy, those two things are kind of tied together, where there were some clear flaws here. And then on top of that, you take 5 sacks only on 14 pressures too. So that's a too high of a pressure to sack ratio in general. Just him getting a win here, like this was by no means an easy win. Like the Vikings defense stepped up. You had some nice starting field position for Minnesota here. You punched out a ball from David Montgomery. JJ McCarthy, this was a win, so you got to give him a B. Was it a clean B? It wasn't. There were some pros, some cons here. I don't think that he put the team on his back, but he did enough, kind of a gutsy win, and one that keeps him in the race for a wild card berth. All
right, let's talk it through. First, let's go, I guess, the wide receivers. I know Justin Jefferson on the opening drive had a sick one-handed touchdown.
Yeah.
Did you see anything different from Jordan Addison here? I mean, he hit his customary 30-plus yard gain on top of it.
Yeah, no, it was more of the Justin Jefferson stuff. And there was a couple of throws that just a more well-placed ball. Justin Jefferson picks up a couple more first downs, but did have that nice back shoulder ball to Justin Jefferson. And then later in the game, the last drive of the game, Jalen Naylor, man coverage, kind of a big wheel route to the side, back shoulder conversion. So a couple of his completions were nice back shoulder throws where his wide receivers were coming down with it. With Jordan Addison, nothing really there. Only 4 targets on a team that I think is going to be try to be balanced, I think is a little bit worrisome. And JJ McCarthy is definitely going to use his legs a little bit more than we've seen with the Vikings offense over the last couple of years with Kevin O'Connell. And then hopefully JJ McCarthy kind of settles in here. I think he can find some other ways to win. So anything in structure, I would say, was solid for JJ McCarthy. He had a nice scramble drill touchdown, which was nice for him. And then everything else was kind of mediocre.
Final question on the Vikings, then I'll ask questions here about the Lions. The backfield. When Aaron Jones missed, Jordan Mason was a spot start for us in fantasy football. They got basically an equal amount of carries in this game and touches overall. But Aaron Jones took 9 of his carries for 78 yards. Jordan Mason took his 10 carries for 36 yards. Is this one pulling even more in Aaron Jones's favor despite being banged up here?
Well, that's the problem. It was very clear. It was Aaron Jones in the first half, 24 snaps to Jordan Mason's 8, and Aaron Jones was looking good. And then later in the game, lands on his shoulder, has an AC joint sprain. So it's one of those where it's deemed minor. I think that this is an injury that a lot of players do play through as long as the severity is not too crazy. So I don't know. Like, he looked more explosive in this one, but you're also dealing with an older guy who's been dealing with a bunch of injuries, and in his second game back picks up a new one. So they desperately need him. Like, I feel like if they're going to look at the JJ McCarthy stuff and be realistic, they're going to want a nice balanced offense, get some nice easy completions. Now, when you have like those 3 pass catchers out there, like that's already a good foundation there. But getting a good balance up front is going to be pretty key to them.
Okay, let's talk about the Lions, because there was a lot to discuss heading into this one. Okay, first, Jared Goff had torched Brian Flores in previous seasons. Like, just for example, against the blitz, over his last couple games, Goff had completed 80% of his passes for 9 yards per attempt versus Brian Flores. In this game, Jared Goff, when pressured by the Vikings, was 6 of 15, 71 yards, 4.7 yards per attempt, and was sacked 5 times. What was the difference?
So they did blitz him a lot. He completed a lot of them underneath, just did not get like the crazy explosive out of it. They had one nice pass to Jamison Williams, who caught the ball and then turned upfield and reached for the pylon. But this was one where like Amon-Ra St. Brown was making a lot of plays, was also kind of like getting off the turf a little bit slow. Was finished with 9 for 97 because they were chasing points there. But you did not have like the crazy explosiveness except for the first drive, which we need to talk about. This Sam Laporta is one of the best plays you'll see from a tight end, just working over the middle, catching it, and just absolutely dragged a couple defenders into the end zone. So he started off completely hot. I think he had 3 receptions on that drive, including one of the best plays you'll see from them. I thought Goff was like, all right. It just seemed like the pressure was actually getting home. The Lions had one of their interior offensive linemen leave on a cart mahogany. So we'll have to pay attention to that one. Did not look good there. But yeah, the Vikings were doing something to slow down this offense. Like, the real big play though was David Montgomery out in space, gets the ball punched out. And that's just the turnover of the game. That really did swing things a lot. And then the special teams were big here. The Vikings blocked a kick that went back all the way for good field position. So it was just one where like turnovers, penalties, and then special teams, you add all that up, and all of a sudden it's now 27-24.
I wonder if Mahogany misses a while if they try to make a move for Zeitler in Tennessee to bring him back into this lineup to make a playoff push here. I'm looking at Jahmyr Gibbs, Hayden. 9 carries for 25 yards.
Yeah.
3 catches for 3 yards. That is a total dud versus a Vikings run defense that had kind of been miserable this season.
Yeah. I can't explain that one. Like, there was just nothing about that I can explain. So.
Yeah. And the Jamison Williams touchdown at the end was quite nice. I understand some Vikings fans might argue that it was a push off. Me, as someone that likes Jamison Williams, it's nice to see him, catch a 37-yarder down the sideline.
Mm-hmm. There were some plays underneath there. He caught a screenplay that got blown up. There was a couple plays just underneath. So the squeaky wheel, was kind of in play.
But then they lose.
I know. Yeah. It's one of those games. This is where the NFL is so hard, because the Lions to me could easily win the Super Bowl, just like the Chiefs. These teams are also going to lose some games. And it just feels like one of these seasons where there's like 7 teams that we feel pretty good about, but all of them have some warts and can get upset by a variety of different teams. So the playoffs are going to be very difficult to predict this year, I think.
We're recording this during the Seahawks-Commanders matchup tonight, but that's who the Lions have next, is the Commanders, then the Eagles, then the Giants, then the Packers, then the Cowboys, and then the Rams. So, they're going to win a bunch of those games. They'll probably lose a couple on top of it, but It's an interesting one. Certainly was not expecting the Lions to lose in this outing.
Yep.
All right.
Agree.
Let's talk about the other massive upset. I mean, 13 to 14 to 15 point underdog. The Carolina Panthers were going into Lambeau Field. And now the Panthers are just the second team in the NFL since 1970 to have a winning record through 9 games, Hayden, despite being an underdog in every game that they've played this season.
Wow.
Shout out to Jordan DeJohnny for that tweet on top of it. I mean, the Panthers 16 to 13. Packers entered this game 7th in red zone touchdown success rate, scoring a touchdown on 70% of their red zone drives. In this one, they opened 0 for 4 and finished 1 for 5. What added up? Savion Williams fumbled on a wide receiver screen trying to fight for a few extra yards. Jordan Love, interception on 1st and 10. This was deeper in his own half. Just for some reason, threw it deep down the field with really swirling winds that affected both quarterbacks. When you go back and watch this, you'll see it. It was triple coverage. And Trevon Moehrig basically catches it like a fair catch punt. Then another turnover on downs in the 4th quarter as Jordan Love runs from one sideline to another and then lobs it up. There should have been a second interception that Mike Jackson could have returned for quite a while. And then again, their only touchdown was on the final drive of the game. Maybe even bigger news here for the 5-2 Green Bay Packers. Tucker Kraft almost certainly gone with a knee injury for the rest of the season. He was peeling out to block. The Panthers defensive lineman submarines an offensive lineman, and that offensive lineman then runs in, or I should say Tucker Kraft runs into the offensive lineman. His knee goes in the opposite direction. Matthew Golden also exited with a shoulder injury. Christian Watson missed a few series with a concussion test. So while this Packers team has played a whole bunch of these names, they got to like real crunch time, and it was Malik Heath and a bunch of random guys out there that they didn't know what positions to be in or what spots to be in when the pass was thrown. And then on the Panthers end, hand up. Did not expect them to have a chance in this one. The sportsbooks were on my side too. Did not think that it was going to be a tied up game script for Rico Dowdle to once again carry this team for 25 opportunities, 130 yards, and 2 short-ish yard touchdowns. He dominated the work. And this is exactly what we wanted to see and exactly what everyone pleaded Dave Canales to do. He started the game, then got the second series. He got 25 carries in comparison to Chuba Hubbard's 5. And that's while Hayden, Rico Dowdle was dealing with like a left groin thigh injury that he was trying to stun gun on the side over and over and over again. So the Panthers have their formula, man. I mean, Bryce Young, 102 passing yards. They didn't want to, try to pass protect this Packers pass rushing unit and instead rely on the running game, defense, and also special teams on top of which I'll get to a bit later on to win this one on the road.
I mean, yeah, this one is just so unpredictable. What a win for the Panthers, they got a winning record. They're 5-4. That is crazy. And could you just point to like coaching being a big difference here? Like the fact that Canales has like an identity, stuck with it against all odds. And then I think that we should have like some level of a LaFleur conversation, because it feels like they're doing a lot of maybe too many things at once. And it feels like their commitment to the ground game is a little bit unfair. And then Jordan Love's kind of a quarterback who is obviously very good, but sometimes you need to rein him in. And at like some point, are you just kind of like running the ball on second downs too much, throwing the ball downfield on short plays. And then all of a sudden you let a Panthers team who had like a 10, 20% chance of winning this game actually go upset you.
Lots of good things to hit on there. The first one, let's talk about the Packers into this, because actually like they were 9 of 16 on 3rd and 4th down conversions. So in that regard, that is still successful, efficient football. But I don't think that they have a running game that they can rely on between the 20s to effectively and efficiently move the football. I mean, Josh Jacobs was 17 of 87, but then they just kind of like go away from him in long stretches. I'm not sure if that's because just zoomed out view, they believe their offensive line is more of a pass blocking unit than a run blocking unit. And they were getting a ton of holding penalties and just could not handle just the beef that is up front here on the Panthers defensive line with, Derek Brown and Turk Wharton and all these dudes. I mean, they had 3 or 4 holding penalties on top of that. And yeah, I mean, Jordan Love, you can't throw an arm punt on 1st and 10 when there are other times when you drift and hold and then perfectly lob a pass to Romeo Doubs over top of Trevon Moehrig underneath and then ahead of other safeties over top. He makes just some fantastic throws. But then on other occasions, it's just nothing open, or I'm going to be too ambitious with this. And there's no like clear check down to that he wants to take and have a gimme get out of jail free card.
But it's like Savion Williams. I'm looking at that fumble. Like I assume that was because of the injuries. No, that was just like their first drive.
Yeah, they've been doing that, and they've been getting him like wide receiver or manufactured touch things.
Yeah.
I think that's part of it too. Is we've seen in previous seasons LaFleur have these sweet drawn up plays. It's been Jaden Reed in the past. There was some Matthew Golden to it, and then I think they drafted Savion Williams to be that.
Yeah.
They tried to trade for Chase Claypool a couple years ago when the Bears actually offered a second round pick, and maybe they view him in a similar light. I don't know, man. I just would hand the football off to Josh Jacobs a bit more often, or throw him swing passes and those types of things. I will say they did try some of those swings, and then the Panthers were blowing them up on the edge at the same time. So it's just an odd one. It's the Packers this season have really played down to their opponent constantly. And I felt like, oh, this one's just inevitable. They're just keeping the Panthers into it, even though like this is one of the matchups. Like Sam White, who's a great follow on Twitter, pointed this out. Week 3 against the Browns, which by the way, they ended up losing that one. The Packers scored just 3 first half points. Week 7 against the Cardinals, 6 first half points. Week 8 against the Steelers, 7 first half points. Week 9 against the Panthers, 6 first half points. Many of those teams usually score a lot more in the first half. Yeah. And to me, they are one of the really good teams in the NFL. But now we're through 9 weeks, and it's kind of a consistent theme where they really start at about 40% of what they can be. Next
game, they get the Eagles on Monday Night Football. So that's just going to be a good test for the Packers, because they're like the worst really good team in the NFL is maybe like a way to put this. Like they're just so inconsistent. I still really like them, but man, like you can't lose to the Panthers and Browns in one season and put up and not like that. There were some fluky plays here and there. It's like, no, you put up 23 collective points in those 2 games.
Right. And the other part of it is, when you only drop back 20 times and only 1 sack for 0 yards, like the ball's getting out so quickly. And that's the plan for the Panthers, that Micah Parsons can't like have one of those game-changing moments of a sack fumble or whatever. Rashawn Gary can't do that either. Dave Canales is kind of doing like the first season Brian Daboll stuff a little bit with the New York Giants. We're kind of winning on the fringes. I mentioned that to say they actually wanted the football. They won the toss, and they wanted the football to open this game. They result in 0 points because of an end zone interception. But he did that. He said after the game, it's easier to say this after the game when the game is close, because he knew that the Packers were going to start in the first quarter with the wind at their back. So you can score more points in the first. So that in the fourth quarter, that would have given the Panthers wind at their back, which turned out to be pivotal here, because they missed like a 43-yard extra point attempt because the kick was short. And then they win it with a 40-plus yard field goal with no time left, with the wind in the opposite direction. So it worked out in the end. It's just, this is how the Panthers want to play. Like when you have a better defense this year versus previous ones, like historically bad in previous seasons versus now, I would say average. The pass rushing unit isn't great. This is average to above average in any given game. That gives you the opportunity to win these close contests in fourth quarters. Like he did very little to win this one, but now on 9 of his 11 career wins, Bryce Young has a fourth quarter or overtime game winning drive in them. And this just extended in this one on the road, which the Panthers are terrible on the road against the Packers. I mean, it just blows my mind.
This one's nuts. Yeah. All right. Fantasy fallout for Tucker Kraft. What should we expect? Is it more Romeo Doubs? Is there any path to Christian Watson, Matthew Golden? It feels like we're still like a month away maybe for Jaden Reed. So somebody's got to step up. This offense is too good on average here for it just to be one guy, I'm thinking.
I think a lot of people might immediately jump to Luke Musgrave. I think you and I have come to the conclusion that Luke Musgrave and Tucker Kraft are just totally different tight ends. Where Tucker Kraft has use of all of his limbs and like has functional movement, whereas Luke Musgrave is almost too long for his own good, and he's almost lanky, and they just move differently, right? So to me, Musgrave is more of a downfield type pass catcher, and Tucker Kraft was a yak type player. They're just running out of bodies here. Like
they are.
Matthew Golden had a really huge vertical target that I think he had both hands on, and he falls on it and the ball goes flying, and so it's incomplete. Christian Watson had now his 52-yard reception, but then is in and out of the lineup too. And so it's Romeo Doubs and just like everyone else. So I really don't have the answer to you. It just is going to remain Romeo Doubs. And then if Christian Watson plays 80% of snaps, if they even want to play someone else 80% of snaps, the football finds him when he's on the field.
Yeah. I think maybe the answer is we can't overlook Romeo Doubs anymore. Like this entire season, he's been like pretty damn solid throughout. Yep. And this is another one where you get 91 yards and easily pace the team in targets. So maybe it's like the answer is, hey, no, like Romeo Doubs is like a wide receiver too. Like we have to just like fully admit that.
And then final point here on the Panthers. Enrico Datto, hand up, was very nervous he wasn't going to get home here for multiple reasons. I mean, a 13-point underdog. And then at the same time, Taylor Moton basically being inactive from this game. Also in the second series, they lose their backup to the backup to the backup starting right guard in Chandler Zavala. And yet he still does it. And then next week, it is the New Orleans Saints who just got run over by the LA Rams in their ground game today. So yeah, I think the Saints game and the Falcons game over the next 2 weeks could be even better than what we saw against the Green Bay Packers today. And it's just great that this is the first time with Chuba Hubbard active that it is so clear it is what Rico Dowdle did against the Dolphins and the Cowboys, and that's what it's going to be moving forward. Speaking of that Falcons team, let's go there because they kept it super close on the road in New England, but the Patriots win 24-23 and improve to 7-2 on the season. Hayden, where do you want to start? With Drake May, with the wide receivers, or is the entire focus going to be on the running back room here?
I mean, the story of the game was Drake London on the other side, but let's start with the winners. Let's start with the winners. The Patriots are now 7-2, so we do need to start there. I thought that Drake May, for the most part, was playing really well. It was kind of everything too. You had some out of structure plays, you had some downfield plays. He would also hit the check down, but at the same time, he made a couple critical errors. He had a fumble that set up the Falcons to the 5-yard line. There was an interception. So there's a little bit more growing pains with Drake May here, but you still saw the explosiveness. Early in the game, Kayshon Boutte leaves with a hamstring injury. They bring in Kyle Hamilton as the 1-for-1 replacement. Demario Douglas is still kind of in that slot role, but he makes the most out of it. So in a part-time role, Pop Douglas on a couple different ways to get downfield. And there's been more shot plays to Pop Douglas this year. So you like think of like an undersized slot wide receiver. You're still getting some downfield looks to him. So you had like a wheel route touchdown. You had like a incomplete bootleg crossing route. And then there's like this other play where just like caught the ball. And then he was running out of the, after the catch for like 6 seconds, just kind of weaving in and out of traffic. So he was the guy that stepped up the most. Steph Diggs did have a nice zone yards after the catch touchdown, which showed some speed there, as well as Cardi B was sitting next to Robert Kraft up in the booth. Nothing really crazy for the tight ends. And honestly, nothing too crazy from the running backs either. So to go to the running back corner, Travion Henderson was the lead back. Terrell Jennings did play some. Terrell Jennings did score a touchdown from the 4-yard line. He also, I thought, showed some explosiveness on 11-yard carry. Travion had, I think, an all right game. They got him to the perimeter for a couple of receptions early on in the game, forced a couple of missed tackles, picked up a couple first downs there, gave them ball up the middle, nothing like really going there. And that's just kind of been the story of the Patriots season. So he finished with 18 touches in this one for over 80 yards. I thought he played fine. There was one pass protection issue in this, but largely Travion was all right. I thought they got him to the perimeter a couple times, and one of them got completely blown up for like a negative 8-yard rush. So I thought the game plan in general was strong for the Patriots. Another nice win for the Falcons, and really they had no answer for Drake London. It did not matter who was defending him. So I think it was like a nice quality win for the Patriots, but one that probably felt maybe a little bit closer than we expected.
Just quickly on the running backs, since that was such a discussion heading into it. Travion did play on 51 of 68 offensive snaps, which then kind of leads me to a point of Terrell Jennings getting 11 touches on 17 snaps is pretty outrageous.
Hammer. He's a hammer. Like that's just kind of how he was. He was up the middle. And then obviously, I mean, he's 225 pounds and Travion's like maybe 200 pounds. So there's a size difference there. Yeah, it's just kind of, there's like no like good comparison. Like this was not how the Patriots have been using the running backs at all. Travion was still like the lead back, but you'd get him more to the perimeter than like a typical
to me, that's really good and smart for this team because from guard to guard, this is one of the worst rushing attacks in the NFL. Then last week, he rushes for 70 plus yards, mostly on the edge. And then here he goes 55 yards, probably mostly on the edge. And like you said, this is the most receiving chops he's had in a single game with 4 catches for 32 yards. So I didn't get to see any of it. I just wonder now that becomes quite predictable, and we'll see, how long, if he is at all. Ramondre Stevenson's out with his toe injury. I'm assuming it's turf toe, but we'll see.
Yeah.
So at least they know where the quality and explosive runs can be. But at the same time, you can't just do that over and over and over again against every single opponent.
Yeah, but it's like one of these things where I think partially falls on Travion, but also something we talked about. It's just the run blocking is not good enough. So you're just like trying to get these guys in space. You see like a lot more like lead blockers where Travion's like staying patient, getting the permission, stay patient, and then finally burst upfield once he finally feels space. And then the one that went for negative yards, that was Will Campbell and Mac Hollins. They both kind of just missed their guy, and all of a sudden now those perimeter runs are also could be -8s. So you're going to have to live with all that stuff. So I think the best plays was quick catches out in the flats, make the first guy miss, get a first down. And I think that's what you want to see. Like that needs to be the absolute baseline for Travion. And he at least hit that today.
Yeah. I think maybe in like 7 of 9 games this season, the Patriots have had the same offensive line. And so you would like to think that they could gel a bit more because there are some talented players up there. It just hasn't gelled as run blockers. And even as pass protectors, obviously you get Myles Garrett 5 sacks last week. And then Hayden, in this one, it's 6 sacks. So Drake May is just kind of unfazed when it comes to these sacks, and they can still win. But, that's 11 sacks in 2 games combined here.
Yeah. Remember, their center is the guy that the Vikings, completely changed their entire offseason because he was their center, and that's who the Patriots have.
All right, let's talk about a heroic Falcons performance from Drake London. 9 receptions, 118 yards, 3 touchdowns, especially in comparison to, once again, Bijan Robinson getting totally stuffed in the running game, back-to-back, if not more than that, weeks. Just 12 carries for 46 yards, does add 50 yards and 8 catches in the air. But this was the Drake London show, and, Darnell Mooney pops up for 1 catch for 15 yards.
Who cares about Darnell Mooney and Kyle Pitts and everybody else? This Drake London game will go down as one of the best wide receiver games of the season. It was not just like receptions, like, oh, there he is against zone and another reception. No, it's like dunking on Christian Gonzalez, like down the field, who left in the game because of the physicality of Drake London. Jump ball touchdowns. He had 2 of them there. Out route with a one-handed catch. You had sliding catches on the sideline. It was just, I knew where the ball was going every single time. So did the Patriots, and they couldn't do anything about it despite investing in so much just dollars this offseason with their defense. So Bijan, luckily, he played 54 or 56 snaps, like the 98% snaps, but they could not run the ball. They were using some like kind of pony personnel. He handled all of the carries for the most part. They didn't go anywhere, but Bijan was a total handful in the receiving game as well. He had a crazy one-handed catch like in traffic. That was a contested catch with one hand, just comes down with it like that. Some stop routes, you get some wheel route stuff. So Bijan was way more effective through the air, had 10 targets in this one, kind of like a Christian McCaffrey game from earlier on this season. But it was all Drake London physicality-wise. Michael Penix, he still feels off to me. Like whenever I just watch him, maybe it's just I can't get over his release and like how it looks. But outside of the pocket, the ball is just kind of not pinpoint. Like even when he completes some of these passes, it's just maybe another more accurate quarterback, there'd be more yards after the catch ability. So Darnell Mooney is a full-time player. The ball doesn't go to him. Kyle Pitts, for the last couple of weeks, has been like semi-involved in the offense, but just not getting those like big yard targets for the catch opportunities. But by far, like the best player in this game, period, was Drake London. He was a total handful.
I can't wait to watch that one tomorrow. Okay. We don't need to do this every single week, but just a quick state of the union here for the Patriots. 7-2. First place in the AFC East. One, do you think there's a chance for them to hold on? Because this schedule that they have is unreal good this season, right? And it makes sense. You finished last in your division last year, plus the divisions you get to face this year, it's cake. But you can only play the teams that are in front of you. And really the only team that's in front of them coming up in the next 4 is the Buccaneers this week on the road. If they win that one, Hayden, then it's the Jets, the Bengals, and the Giants after that. So some really fun stuff here in the next 4 weeks for the Patriots.
On December 14th, they host the Buffalo Bills. That, I think, will largely decide the division and tiebreakers and all that. As a reminder, they've already beat the Buffalo Bills, so it's like more pressure on the Buffalo Bills because if the Patriots sweep, then not only did they pick up another game in the division, now they like for sure have the tiebreaker as well. So that's going to largely decide it. They are a playoff team. The defense is very good. Like we always talk about it. You can't run on them. like immediately you can't run on them. And then now you're dictating that you're gonna have to pass the ball. And Christian Gonzalez and Vrabel and stuff, you have like enough pieces back there. So they're still trying to figure it out at linebacker and safety. But they got like one high-end corner and a run defense that stops everybody. So like that's a recipe that you can kind of work with.
All right, let's quickly go over to the LA Rams, who are 6-2, as they totally demolished the New Orleans Saints 34-10 in Tyler Shuck's debut. I guess we can quickly start with the Saints, since that's, I guess, somewhat of a storyline with Shuck. They opened with 3 and outs in the first quarter. They had a total of 12 yards in the first quarter, 3 plays, 9 yards, 3 plays, -6 yards, 3 plays, 9 yards. In fact, their first scoring drive was because Taysom Hill had the opening 3 snaps of their drive and 3 straight Wildcat plays. Now, that's not to say that Tyler Shuck didn't make some throws throughout the entire game. He had 2 nice over routes outside the numbers in rhythm, 20+ yards. 1 to Chris Olave, 1 to Rashid Shaheed. He actually, his first touchdown pass in the NFL was to Juwan Johnson, and they were actually teammates at the University of Oregon. One guy is in his 6th year, and one guy is in his rookie year. But yeah, they were down 34-10 on those nice over route throws. And then, this game was really over when Taysom Hill bounces a pass, or a run, I should say, to the edge, and Emmanuel Forbes, who is 150 pounds, tackles him to the ground one-on-one.
Oh boy.
And then that same drive, a 4th and 1, after Tyler Shuck had made these passes, Taysom Hill comes in and just gets totally stuffed. And then on a 4th and 4 to close it out, guess who has the interception? Former first-round pick, drafted ahead of Christian Gonzalez, Emmanuel Forbes on top of it. So the Rams were all over Tyler Shuck. What a disastrous first performance to try to have. Only sacked 1 time, but you saw some skittishness out there, and he finished 15-24, 176, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. And I'll add that, yes, Alvin Kamara, 6-14 and a fumble on top.
Oh boy. Yeah. Okay. So a couple things for the Saints, just looking at the box score. You hit me some good stuff there. First of all, looking at the rushing box score, wanted to check. They had a 7th percentile success rate running the ball. Yeah. That is the 0th percentile across all offenses dating back the last 20 years. Like you cannot pick up a successful run on 1 of 14 attempts. And that was with Taysom Hill, which I'm assuming was some wildcat bullshit. You cannot run the ball under center with your running backs right now.
So Eric McCoy, we knew was out.
Yeah.
Fuanga left this game too. And we'll see if he's out for a week or more. And then I think Cesar Ruiz was also kind of in and out of this game. I mean, you could literally see the Rams defensive lineman just feasting on this. Byron Young even had a sack on the touchdown. Byron Young had a ideal sack that would have forced him into like a 2nd and 16, but it was too clean of a hit and too clean of a run where it goes helmet to helmet and they get a personal foul penalty and that ends in a touchdown.
Okay. Second note for looking at the box score, Rashid Shaheed, who's probably going to get traded in the next day or two.
Correct.
Finishes with 9 targets, a team high, is the leading receiver in all categories. Now you're going to remove him from the offense. So now we're down to like 1 starting lineman, and now you're going to probably trade Rashid Shaheed. Tyler Shuck, I'm sorry, dog. You have no chance. This is a preseason offense.
It's really that simple. And I will add that Rashid Shaheed once again missed on a 30+ yard touchdown pass. In this game too.
He's praying he goes to Buffalo.
Yeah, I mean, Tyler Shuck is starting the rest of the way. Apparently, they had, I think, turned the football over 7 times over the previous 2 games. So I understand Spencer Rattler. But at the same time, on a series in, series out stuff, Spencer Rattler, to me, would have done a better job in this game than Tyler Shuck. But that doesn't matter at this point. Like one guy gets 7 games started. The other guy's going to get 9, 10 games started. And then that's just what the NFL season is going to be for this Saints team. Okay, on the Rams end, there's a lot to discuss here. First of all, Puka Nacua had an incredible touchdown catch where he basically motions almost into the backfield in his half speed, then gets up to full speed immediately, runs basically an out and up, beautifully thrown pass by Matthew Stafford, catches it, and in leaping to the front pylon and somehow, some way is inbounds on that catch. Devontae Adams has 5 catches, 60 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Hayden, I believe if I'm reading this tweet correctly from PFF. 7 catches this season inside the red zone, 7 touchdowns. That's his role in this offense. The first one was on just a quick slant, probably on a run play, easy money. The second one, almost like a fake slant turning into a fade. And then the corner's not even within 2 yards from him, and it's a goal line play. So this is just an awesome duo. The only holdup here is Puka Nacua did leave with a chest injury. He landed on the football very awkwardly over the middle of the field. I think it actually might have been a running play. Anyways, I think Sean McVay post-game said that Puka could have come back if the game was tighter, but that is not what you want to see from someone who is just coming back from an injury to entering this game and already looked awesome.
Yep. Players that get the ball a lot over the middle get injured a lot, but he's a tough son of a gun. I'm expecting him to be out there when they play the 49ers next week. You've been on this one early. No one really mentions the Rams as the best team in the NFL. They certainly have their case. We're talking about chemistry, an elite play caller. Matthew Stafford's playing like a top 5 quarterback. He's like on pace for 1 million yards. I saw a no-look dig route that he completed over the middle, which is insane stuff. I mean,
28-yarder.
He's playing the game differently than the other quarterbacks. He can't move, but he's so lethal through the air. You got multiple pass rushers. It's not just Jared Verse. We keep mentioning Byron Young for right reasons. And they're adding secondary pieces too. Like, I don't know. This team feels extremely spicy.
They're very good. And, you know, Matthew Stafford is more fantasy relevant this year, it feels, than previous years because of Devontae Adams and these red zone touchdowns. Yep. I mean, he has 4 touchdowns today. We mentioned the ones to Puka, the 2 to Devontae, and then he had another one to Tyler Higbee when he was wide open off of a 3rd and 1 play action pass. The backfield, I think, is worth talking about here too. Again, they combine Kyren Williams and Blake Corum for 38 carries for 172 yards. They both look awesome. Kyren Williams, 25 carries, 114 yards, a goal line touchdown. But Blake Corum opened the second half of this game with the first 6 touches. I think that was just his series, but it's very cool that they didn't even just reset and they trusted him. And Blake Corum, you know, had a run of 21 yards, had another one of like 12 yards. Really good backfield here. And the offensive line keeps getting like a bit healthier with Rob Havenstein back and all this type of stuff. So this is a really, really complete offense that they have. And they're even utilizing these 3 tight ends like other teams are too, with Terrence Ferguson, Davis Allen, and Tyler Higbee all having 37 plus yards and or a touchdown. And
then even Colby Parkinson, 2 catches for 10 yards. I mean, that's 4 tight ends. Four tight ends with multiple catches in a game. That's hard to do.
Yep. Good team. Really, really good team. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's do a state of union then for the Rams because they're 6-2. I mean, it's coming up here for them in the NFC West. It's the 49ers and the Seahawks over the next 2 weeks. So that will define a lot heading into, I don't know, about week 11, week 12 for the Rams. The Cincinnati Bengals made records in week 9, but not the way that they wanted to. In fact, they are the first team to score 38 plus points in back-to-back games and lose both since the 1966 New York Giants. Brentley Wiseman, let's talk about it because against the Bears today, they lose 47-42 after taking the lead with just a little bit to go. And then in heartbreaking fashion, some might say quitting fashion, the defense allows a 50-yard touchdown pass to Colson Loveland up the heart, 2 broken tackles, and the first round pick tight end makes his mark on this Bears team as they improve to 5-3 on the season.
Yeah, it was one of the more wild games I've ever watched. I mean, anybody who played defense today on that game should not be getting a paycheck. It was an embarrassing performance, but you know, offensively though, a lot of exciting things from a Bears standpoint. You know, guys, this is why you hire Ben Johnson. I think it was a masterclass by Ben Johnson today. His run game stuff was outstanding, and then he was just in his bag. You know, Caleb Williams, they had him out catching passes from DJ Moore. They had a reverse DJ Moore. I think he scored a touchdown. They had a double quarterback pass where they lined up Tyson Bagent out wide. Caleb threw it to him. They threw it back to Caleb, and Caleb looked like a running back. I mean, Ben Johnson was just having fun out there. I think he knew the Bengals defense wasn't going to put up much of a fight, and he just wanted to show off. And it was a really fun performance by the Bears offense.
Okay, we'll take this one at a time because going through a series by series stuff when there are 89 points scored would be pointless here.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's first go through the running department because this was a breakout performance for Kamanungai, a player I've been really excited to see, despite him being, a 7th round rookie. You could just see it, Brentley, from the preseason as the weeks went along. He got more and more comfortable, not just as a runner, but also as a pass protector. Yep. And in this game that he was given the entire responsibility, he responds for 26 carries, 176 yards to go along with 3 catches for 22 yards. From your eyes, how did he look?
He looked outstanding, like straight up outstanding. So I remember he first kind of got some action in the Patriot game a few weeks back, and we were talking, hey, like he looks pretty good. Like he might get some more carries. And obviously today with the Swift being out, we saw what he could do. I mean, he is bruising, physical, explosive downhill runner, has some more wiggle to him than you'd think. He made a couple guys miss, was able to get to the edge and beat the linebackers with just pure speed. Hayden, he reminds me of a Melvin Gordon. Like that's kind of the way he runs.
Ooh.
Just physical, kind of north-south upright, but has some explosiveness. Like, I think he's going to be a part of this offense, no matter if Swift's healthy or not. I mean, like, today was no fluke. He looked really, really good.
Hayden, I guess the question is, did he get Wally pipped in terms of DeAndre Swift, who had looked really good over the last couple weeks since the bye week? They figured out, as we talked about, the left tackle blocking in Benedette, the right tackle when Darnell Wright was moving people, more and more of these edge runs, and DeAndre Swift, where we had not previously been fans of. We have been in these past 2 weeks. But I know it's against the Bengals, but this is one of those performances for Kamanungai that raises some eyebrows.
It's possible. He was already at about 50% of the snaps the last couple of weeks, but that was with Swift kind of playing through these injuries. Here's a prediction for you. I can guarantee Swift plays next week. He's not going to watch this performance and stay on the sideline for much longer here. So I think he'll be back. They'll probably give Swift, kind of what we saw with the Panthers, and let's see who can win out. It is a good caveat. The Bengals have been the worst rushing defense in the NFL by a million miles, and once again, that proved it here. But Nungai's a real player. Like, he's a real physical kind of bruiser. More David Montgomery than Gibbs. We're going to get there. But the Bears have been successful enough on offense where they can get some positive game scripts, and they're pretty balanced in general. And you start getting more of the Ben Johnson, like, here we go kind of plays as the offense kind of filters out the bad stuff that they don't want to do. And I can see both guys being relevant.
And look, I was giving Ryan Poles shit when he didn't really draft a running back until the 7th round, where they had all this money and didn't spend it on Rico Dowdle or anyone else, with this goal of Ben Johnson to have a running game of a Gibbs Montgomery style thing. And it has kind of taken, I guess, really until week 7 for it to work out. And then here in week 9, we probably have seen the best of what DeAndre Swift is in this offense, and now the best of what Kamanungai. And they get the New York Giants for the next game too, another defense that has been run on this season. So that's a really nice tandem. Okay.
Yeah.
Brentley, now we have to talk about the passing game here from the Bears, because 4 different people threw passes. Caleb Williams, Tyson Bagent, DJ Moore, and Cole Kmet all threw a pass. But Caleb on the day, 20 of 34, 280, 3 touchdowns, only sacked twice. Does add 5 for 53. How did he look overall? And then I'll go into the pass catchers on top of it.
So I thought Caleb, at least in the first half, was a little spotty. He had some throws he could want back. He had the bad delay game at the goal line. And then just a kind of consistent erraticness in the pocket, spinning around when he feels the rush for no reason instead of stepping up, just kind of that normal stuff, right? But then as the game went on, you saw him really get comfortable, just started delivering really good balls down the field. He made some ridiculous throws on the run. I mean, you really kind of saw the talent that makes him so, highly regarded as a prospect. He really put it on show today. So I thought overall he played really well. Again, there were some things he'd want back, but I thought today was one of the better games he's had as a pro. I thought today was really impressive, again, against the Bengals defense, but I thought overall, very, very impressive game by Caleb Williams.
I'm looking at his pressure numbers, and when he was pressured, his time to throw was at 5.8 seconds. So that is a man running for his absolute life. But when he was not pressured, was completely dicing him up. So I haven't watched this game in entirety, but that's kind of like what you want from a first rounder, is like, you're kept clean. We're running the offense. When shit's going down, well, guess what? I'm creating some shit outside the pocket as well. And it was cool that it was going to all the other guys. I'm looking at the Roma Dunze stuff completely left away. But that's kind of a good sign that everything else in the offense is kind of clicking, that you can go put up 47 points when your wide receiver 1 throws up a dud.
So let's talk about those pass catchers, because Colson Loveland, finally 6 for 118 for 2 scores. I was a huge Colson Loveland guy. I know Hayden was.
Same here, yeah. Big fan.
I'm assuming you were. as well. Yeah. And I think Cole Kmet, missed last week and then left this game about midway through. So maybe this Colson Loveland stuff is here to say, not to this degree, but you guys know what we mean. Then DJ Moore, who has been incredibly erratic this season, 4 for 72. Olamide Zaccheaus, 658 and 1. Caleb Williams, 2 catches, 22 yards and a touchdown.
A second one.
And then you have to go all the way down to a top 15 scoring wide receiver this year in Rome Odunze. 3 targets, 0 receptions, 0 yards. Brentley, you can only watch what was on broadcast. We can't go back and watch, the all 22 here. How the heck does that happen?
Yeah, it's odd. Obviously, Rome Odunze and Caleb have shown great chemistry, throughout the season, but he just wasn't a part of the offense. And then obviously when Cole Kmet went out with a concussion late in the first half, it was the Colson Loveland show, and they were featuring him. Him and Caleb had a really good chemistry. He was working the middle of the field, which is the Bengals' weakness. And he was just eating. Colson was just eating. And, DJ Moore is also a big piece of the offense as well today. And so I think it speaks more to Caleb's willingness to spread the ball around rather than try to force feed to Rome Odunze. Again, without seeing the all 22, I don't really know if he was getting locked up by DJ Turner. I know, Hayden, you posting about him this week. I'm not sure if that was the case necessarily. But yeah, I think it should be a positive in terms of the Bears' overall offense, so they can have this big of a passing game explosion without Odunze, because he's one of their, if not their best receiver. So very, very strange indeed, though, I'd say.
Yeah, this just goes into what the Bengals splits have been the entire year, where they've been by far the worst defense against running backs and tight ends. Like, they've been giving up more, it's 18 fantasy points to tight ends before this game. Now Colson Loveland hit him with another about 20. But against wide receiver ones in the offense, they've actually been pretty stable. And the DJ Turner stuff, I do think, is a big part of that. So that's too big of a simplification here, but those do kind of follow the trends of what the Bengals have been so bad. And you mentioned it, throwing the ball over the middle. Their linebackers and safety group right now is so horrific over the middle. And that's where, the last play, the Colson Loveland stuff, there was 3 guys that could have made a play there, and none of them.
Jordan Battle was pathetic.
Sacrificial.
Today. He was so bad today.
Ugh.
Yeah. Maybe we should look out for the sacrificial X stuff here against this Bengals defense with DJ Turner. Let's talk about the Bengals offense. Joe Flacco with a hurt throwing shoulder, 31 of 47, 470, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 3 sacks. We talked about heading into this one where, the Bears were allowing downfield passes, and T. Higgins definitely took advantage of that. 17.3 yards for average per catch, 7 receptions, 121, and 2 scores. And I know he just totally ripped away an interception, turned into touchdown, turned into a cornerback ending up on the bench as T. Higgins is trotting into the end zone.
Yeah, T's a freak. That catch on the sideline where he completely mossed that defender was unbelievable. I think he ended up getting hurt on one of the last plays of when the Bengals had the ball, so that's a bummer. So you got to monitor that. But he was balling today. But Joe Flacco, I know everyone's going to talk about the Bears and them winning the game, but I don't want this to get lost. Joe Flacco was freaking outstanding today. Outside of one bad pick in the goal line, where Tremaine Edmonds made a great play, and then he had one fumble, Flacco did. He was phenomenal. Just standing in the pocket, delivering strikes down the field. None of this was fluky. It was legitly just standing tall, surveying the field, and throwing darts. It was unbelievable to see. So he's just a fountain of youth, continuing to ball out. And yeah, the Bengals offense just explosive. Jamar Chase had a good game. Andre Yosefas had a good game. Chase Brown was eating underneath as a check down running back. Just overall, they were doing whatever they wanted through the air all game.
Yeah, it's been a month now. This is what we should just be used to. It's a very, very similar offense to the Joe Burrow stuff. It sounds crazy saying that, but the numbers are right there. And it's because T. Higgins and Jamar Chase are both fully healthy. Did want to just quickly hit on the Bengals, and they have some decision points. They're now 3-6. The trade deadline's looming. They have players like Trey Hendrickson that they can move. What's even the point?
Yeah.
Joe Burrow, there was a reports that maybe he can come back in December. Honestly, for what? Why? This team's given up at 31, 39, 47 points in the last 3 games. It's been 48s and others, 37s and other. Like what exactly are we doing here with Cincinnati? So like for fantasy, we can have our fun.
Yeah.
They're going to beat some decent teams down the stretch, but like for Trey Hendrickson, the Joe Burrow stuff, they have some actual decisions to make. And like my kind of thought is just what's the point? Like this is a fantasy football offense.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you guys saw, but Underdog NFL reposted this from Mike Petraglia, who works for ESPN 1530 in Cincinnati. Quote, several Bengals defensive linemen laughed, catch you on Monday, or declined to speak when asked about the defensive performance in Sunday's loss in the locker room. That included, and he called them out, Shamar Stewart,
Jeez.
Jordan Battle, TJ Slayton, Chris Jenkins, Miles Murphy were among players mentioned. Chase Brown did talk to the media, and he was basically like, what the F was going on with the defense in that performance. I mean, like you said, hey, points are fun. To me, I would rather watch like a 18-24 good defense contest versus like, oh, tackling is questionable here, and every single series ends with a touchdown. But that's just me.
Yeah, Jamar Chase had some words too. He's like, I don't want my defensive teammates to yell at me, but I'll leave it at that. It's like, oh my God. I mean,
It's justified. It's justified. If I was them, I'd be pissed too. It's pathetic.
because it's one thing just to be bad. Like when you're just like not tackling, you know, like the game's on the line, your offense has put up 42 points, and then
Totally.
Colson Loveland just works
You
over
just
the
need to
middle.
stop.
You got to tackle him. Just tackle
Yeah.
with one guy. Like I would get there's like effort. There's a culture issue going on in Cleveland or in Cincy. It's bad.
And, you know, they fired Lou Anarumo, brought in Al Golden. Lou Anarumo has, you know, made a Super Bowl with his defense and overperformed with his schemes. Al Golden has been part of really good defense at the college level and has coached in the NFL for a long time as a position coach. It's probably just the players, you know?
Yeah, it is. I will say though, depending on how many points or how many more wins they get here, are we going to make a change at like head coach? Like this is like getting close to like losing the locker room. Like, this is like a lot of statements and stuff. Like obviously Zach Taylor deserves like a pretty long leash. Like he actually was at the Super Bowl. We don't talk about the Bengals here, but you start losing the locker room and it's like the same problem for your entire tenure. Like at some point, like something needs to give.
Yeah. It's just the way they're losing, you know, and we can move on, but yeah, it's just the way they're losing. You don't want to lose Zach Taylor because I think he's a really good offensive coach. I mean, clearly look how that unit's playing. But when they're losing the game on defense, and again, it's missed tackles, it's broken assignments, it's mental errors, like that's a reflection on the coach. So there's going to be some tough conversations, I feel like.
Speaking
in the next
of losing,
few weeks.
this would have been a disastrous loss for the Jacksonville Jaguars out of a bye. But in overtime, they beat the Las Vegas Raiders 30-29 and improved to 5-3 as the Raiders go for 2 after the Jaguars scored a touchdown in OT. And the pass is batted down at the goal line to a wide open Tyler Lockett from Geno Smith. There's a number of areas we can go in for this, Brentley. I think number one, we probably do need to start on the Raiders end as Brock Bowers finally returned to the field without a knee brace. And in the fourth quarter of this game, just totally took over. And in overtime, 13 targets, 12 receptions, 127 yards, and 3 scores. Brentley, you watched it. So did I. He was just ripping the football on these off-target pinpoint passes from Geno Smith. His hip, his one-handed touchdown, just stronger than everyone and winning after the catch.
Unreal.
Just an unreal performance from the second-year tight end that we just have kind of been robbed of 6 or 7 games so far this year.
I mean, he changes this whole offense. I mean, one, like we know how good he is as a individual player, like his talent, his run after the catch ability, like his balls, his hand skills, like all of that is outstanding. However, like the way they play offense when he's on the field, this is the best they can be. They want to live in 12 personnel, have Trey Tucker and Jacoby Myers, and then run the ball with Ashton Genty. Like this is the offense that we all thought we were going to get in the offseason. Obviously, with Brock Bowers' injury, it's been a sluggish start. But if they can be this moving forward, like, this is a real potentially good unit. Like I was really impressed today. Michael Mayer, what they were able to do with him I thought was really impressive. I think he had the second most targets on the team. And so with Brock Bowers now in the fold, like this unit itself is actually pretty respectable in my opinion. But yes, ultimately monster game by Brock Bowers. I mean, my goodness.
He was running away from everybody, which was like super refreshing to see.
Yeah.
You just didn't know exactly with that PCL bone bruise injury. Like those things linger, like we've seen, but he's completely over it. And what you said about the offense, the entire offense did change. They were in 2 tight end sets for the entire game. Both rookie wide receivers, that's Thornton and Besh, did not play a single snap the entire game. So they lived in 12 personnel, and then Tyler Lockett was the third. And it's just like, all right, who do we trust? And I'm sure that Chip Kelly and Pete Carroll were like, all right, I don't trust all these other guys. Too much Trey Tucker and these rookies. We're going to freaking Tyler Lockett and our former first rounder, and that's what we're going to do. And it did feel pretty refreshing.
We'll get into the positives of the Jaguars in a second, but Brentley, this also felt like the terrible pre-snap bowl between these two teams, where the operation for both of them all season long has been miserable. They seem kind of unprepared in a lot of situations, and also just some individually dumb moments on top of it, where Trayvon Walker gets kicked out of this game for punching I think Stone Forsythe or someone on a field goal, which for absolutely no reason. And then with 6.5 minutes to go, as the Vegas Raiders are up 16-13, it should be like 2nd and 14 at the Las Vegas Raiders 41-yard line. And Devin White just shoves a Jaguar in the face. I think it was Hunter Long or someone, for absolutely no reason. And so that gives them a 15-yard penalty and automatic first down, and they go in to score a touchdown and take the lead on that drive, where it would have been, with how the Jaguars offense was playing to that point, a field goal or a difficult touchdown drive on top of it. So like, the coaching issues have been there, and like some of the individual performances look good, like Geno Smith finally scoring 4 touchdowns. But watching it up close, Brentley, it still seemed like it was a mess on multiple fronts here.
Yeah. It was a mess. I don't have it in front of me, but I'm pretty sure the Jags are like one of, if not the leading teams in penalties. Like, they're just completely undisciplined, and I think that's really a reflection of Lee and Cohen. And then, on the Raiders front, I mean, just the untimely penalties were so backbreaking throughout the game. I think they were on the goal line, and then they had a false start. It's like, what are we doing here, But yeah, very sloppy game. I think if ever a game should end in a tie, it probably was this one. Neither of these teams actually deserve to win. So I was rooting for a tie, but
I mean, ultimately,
very sloppy.
Oh, you got it. I have something different.
And I was just going to close out here with Ashton Genty, 13 carries, 42 yards, really nowhere for him to go. He did have like a long run of 13. If you eliminate that one, Brentley, he's just getting stuffed over and over and over again by this Jaguars front unit. But he does add, finally, I mean, imagine this, Chip Kelly. You could have been doing this from week 1, 5 catches for 47 yards and a touchdown, instead of throwing the ball to Dylan Laube in the first couple games of the season. Okay, the Jaguars end, Brentley. We know Travis Hunter was getting a bunch of coach speak that he was going to be this team's new wide receiver 1, pass his phone in his direction. We know now, unfortunately, he's out for at least 4 weeks, if not more. Then Brian Thomas Jr., just 3 catches for 55 yards. His final catch, though, of 34 yards is some of his best work, making people miss, catch over the middle of the field. Then he goes down with an ankle injury and basically doesn't play for the rest of the game. And so you win, but I guess at what cost here? Because this Jaguars team, in the end, was throwing to the likes of Parker Washington, Tim Jones, and Hunter Long.
Yeah, they were decimated today. I think De'Ami Brown was being evaluated for a concussion, like in the early part of the second half, so he was out. Brian Thomas and Trevor Lawrence are just very clearly not on the same page. I don't know what's going on with them, but Lawrence wasn't even looking his way throughout the whole game. I mean, he was really just keying in on Parker Washington. He was essentially wide receiver 1 for the Jags today. And, without Hunter, you would expect BTJ to get the targets, have some production, and it just wasn't there. And then, of course, when he does have the long catch, he gets hurt. Tried coming back. He played a few plays, but then he really just couldn't plan on his ankle. So then he was out for overtime. But yeah, just overall very disappointing from the Jags passing offense. I mean, they just got decimated. There's not enough.
At the same time,
enough guys.
Trevor Lawrence threw a horrible goal line interception in his first series. I don't think he played poorly throughout the entire rest of the game. He was still dealing with drops, like De'Ami Brown dropped one over the middle of the field, then he left with another injury. He should have had a walk-in touchdown catch for Hunter Long, and he just flat out dropped it. So this team is missing Brenton Strange. It's missing Travis Hunter. And now it's missing Hayden, Brian Thomas Jr. And yet we don't really know what the future holds for kind of any of those guys at this point.
Yeah, just looking at it, looked like a kind of a hip drop tackle ish. Kind of reminds me of what happened with CeeDee Lamb, who missed like 3 to 4 weeks. I'm assuming it's a high ankle sprain, and it's like, all right, do you go on IR or not? So I mean, they're just throwing the ball to guys that can't catch the ball. That's just been the story for Dimey Brown and Tim Jones and all these guys and Hunter Long. So they need Brenton Strange back. They need Brian Thomas to escape. Hopefully, it's not too bad, or otherwise they're going to be kind of just throwing to guys they don't really trust. So Parker Washington's kind of the guy they trust the most. And he's been eating whenever Travis Hunter hasn't been out there. So I do think that Parker Washington's going to be somebody once again we'll have to talk about in the waiver wire show, assuming Brian Thomas is going to be week to week here.
I'm also bearing the lead. Cam Little, who has been very up and down, hit or miss all season long, buries a 68-yard kick, which is now an NFL record. And he had a couple yards to spare on top of it. So he made all of his kicks today when he definitely hasn't done that so far this season. And then Brentley, I don't know if you saw what I did here with the rushing stuff with Travis Etienne and Bashal Tutin. Obviously, Etienne dominates the workload with 22 carries, 84 yards, then gets 5 catches for 31. But there were multiple occasions where they got down to like the 1 yard line after Travis Etienne kind of got stuffed on first and second down. They put in Bashal Tutin there on third down. That led to some quarterback sneaks, but he also did have a short yardage touchdown run on that. So it wasn't as simple as, oh, we get inside the 5, here's Bashal Tutin. Instead, it was almost like how LaQuint Allen comes in pure pass protection stuff. Bashal Tutin popped in for true goal line third down stuff, and he got one of the scores because of it.
Travis Etienne, I thought he played really good all game today, but at the goal line, he was struggling. And they clearly were definitely trusting Tutin more in that area of the field. So I know we're all waiting for Tutin to have a bigger role in this offense. I think after today, we could see a path to where maybe he's going to be the team's goal line running back, which will at least provide some fantasy value. But, I still think this is overall Travis Etienne's offense. And I did think, big picture, he played well. I thought he was their kind of workhorse and most reliable player today on offense.
Looking at the advanced numbers, both running backs had negative yards before contact. So the fact that Etienne even had 80 rushing yards is probably a good sign, but also just kind of a bad sign if we have some pass game struggles, some penalty problems, and now like the yards before contact numbers are disappearing. And that's not just this game, like the last 3 games for Jacksonville. Etienne has not been able to do a whole lot. And like the Liam Cohen offense with Tampa Bay, they were so used to just being like number 1, number 2 in yards before contact. And they're just not going to have that with Jacksonville in year 1. You start removing their 2 best players on the perimeter. It's like, okay, what should the actual realistic expectations be for Jacksonville the next couple of weeks? I think it's a below average offense.
Yep.
All right. We'll close out your segment here, Brentley, with the San Francisco 49ers going on the road, being the New York Giants 34-24. This was, again, a Mac Jones start, and he goes 19 of 24 for 2 scores. They're 6-3 now. I guess the number one talking point here is Christian McCaffrey. 28 carries, 106 yards, 1 touchdown on the ground, 5 receptions, 67 yards, 1 touchdown in the air. Both the leading rusher and leading receiver on the week.
Yeah, I mean, the 49ers offense was clicking on all cylinders today. I mean, they really could just do whatever they wanted, and it was led by Christian McCaffrey. He was just a man amongst boys. And I think the Giants heading into the game were the worst run defense in the league, so this is probably to be expected. But McCaffrey was just making guys miss, breaking tackles. He was outstanding in the passing game, as you mentioned. Josh led the team in pass and receiving. Had a really cool leak out touchdown in the flat. No one was even close to him. And then he just looked really explosive, just looked fast, explosive. Just an overall outstanding performance from him. And then Mac Jones, just what can we say? I mean, the toughness he's displayed. He's not healthy. He was really grimacing a lot throughout the game with his toe. But I think he was 14 of 14. Started out the game. His first incompletion, guys, didn't come until 12 minutes in the third quarter. Like, it was just flawless performance today from the entire 49ers offense. And then Kyle Shanahan, he had the Giants' second-level linebackers in a blender today. They had no idea where the ball was the entire game. And if your linebackers don't know where the ball is, if they can't read and react against the Niners, you have no shot. Because Shanahan will just exploit your weakness until the cows come home. So good job with the Niners, but definitely tough day for the Giants defense.
We did get an update from Shanahan after the game that Brock Purdy was honestly not that close to playing, and that it's an injury that he's just going to have to play through. So that's something that's just kind of lingering, just makes me feel a little bit awkward about how to view this team as we get to the playoffs, because Mac Jones is definitely holding down the line, but like you said, he's clearly battling through a bunch of injuries too. I guess for fantasy purposes, we know CMC is just going to keep getting it at home. Juwan Jennings versus George Kittle. Like, let's assume Ricky Pearsall and Ayuk still need a couple extra weeks here. Like, what should we think about with Juwan Jennings and George Kittle? Like, George Kittle is always efficient when he gets the ball, and then Juwan Jennings was pretty bad early, but now might be a little bit healthier. Like, did Juwan look healthier? Did George Kittle look all the way back?
I think both players did look healthy. I thought Juwan was definitely his best game of the year, I felt like, because in terms of movement skills, he had a really sick route on his touchdown, like a little kind of comeback hitch where he just made the defender kind of just stutter step, at this top of the stem of the route. Like, that was really impressive. He had another one the next drive, caught like a kind of deep slant, broke a few tackles, something he's always been known to do. So I thought he had a really good game. George Kittle wasn't too involved. I think he was targeted 4 times, caught all 4 of his passes, broke some tackles, didn't do anything too crazy, but also just looked like normal George Kittle. He looked explosive, moved well. Both weren't super, productive today, but they didn't need to be. The offense is really efficient on the ground, so they weren't asked to do much through the air. But I think moving forward, I think both players can probably be trusted, and both players are healthy. So that's at least encouraging.
All right, let's talk about the New York Giants. Jackson Dart, 24-33, 191, 2 scores in the air. Jackson Dart, the leading rusher, 8 carries, 56, 1 touchdown. My brain instantly, obviously, wants to jump to this running back split because it's definitely a split and definitely something we need to discuss with Cam Scottaboo out for the season. But before we do that, let's talk about Jackson Dart. Brentley, how did he look?
I thought, all things considered, he played well. He had a few things he would want back. I think he holds the ball too long in the pocket. He doesn't feel pressure well, and he doesn't know when it's coming. I mean, there was one where I think it was Cleveland Farrell, like, just destroyed him from the back, drilled him. Like, he's holding the ball for like 10 seconds. Like, bro, like, get rid of it, throw it away. So I think hopefully that will come. But again, like, there's so much to like with him. The athleticism, the playmaking, like, it's all there. The competitive toughness. Like, I feel really good that the Giants have something here with Jackson Dart. Now, he needs to slide. I mean, it's actually absurd, the volume of hits he just kind of goes into. He'll literally lower his shoulder like he's Cam Scottaboo against a linebacker, and he got rocked today. And then you saw him on the sideline, and he's like bending over in pain. So, like, if he continues to play like that, he's going to get hurt. I mean, like 100%. Yeah. So he needs to protect himself, because I think he's talented, but he's just a reckless rookie right now. So he needs to kind of rein it in a little bit.
All that was there on Ole Miss too. Like, there was like the famous clip from Gruden yelling at him, like, you got to slide. It's just how he plays. It's like, this is not new with him, which makes me nervous, because he's a little bit thick, but he's not as big as Josh Allen, the other guys that he's trying to emulate. I saw the same things though on tape though. Like, his out of structure playmaking is like the big thing about his game, and he's throwing the ball downfield very accurate. Like, freaking Slayton, we got to come down with one of these. Theo Johnson had a key drop as well. It's like, he's making some plays that are not showing up on the box score, and it's because he's throwing to absolute scrubs on the most part. Too many drops. They keep bringing the next wide receiver, doesn't catch another fucking pass. So no matter what, Jackson Dart has a wide receiver that's on the field who is not going to catch a pass the entire game. We've got to fix these problems. Yeah. But he's shown some competitive toughness, but I agree. It's too risky, just the play style. Just a slide here and there, and you can feel really good about the function of what this offense could be.
Yeah. Look, I'm not a coach. I'm also not Jackson Dart, so I don't know if that changes, when it changes, and how it changes. Because like you said, there's that clip of John Gruden telling him, hey, you have to change this. I'm sure Lane Kiffin told him to change it. I'm sure Brian Daboll has told him to change it. And especially after the Cam Scottaboo, hey, you got to change this. And it just hasn't yet. So I don't know if it's an off-season thing, something you drill. It's definitely a part of his game. You can't do that if you're a quarterback.
No.
It's kind of that simple.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Okay. Let's talk about this backfield because this was totally unexpected for us in the fantasy community, because last season when Tyrone Tracy took over for an injured Devin Singletary, he took over for the rest of the year and performed really extremely well.
Yeah.
When Cam Scottaboo goes down, Tyrone Tracy then owns the backfield for the rest of that game. So we just assume, it's going to be exactly, since it's Mike Kafka and Brian Daboll, going to produce itself once again in 2025. Brentley, that's not even close to the case. Devin Singletary, 8 carries, 43 yards. Tyrone Tracy, 5 carries, 18 yards. And then Tracy adds 3 catches for 19 yards and Singletary 2 for 8. This is air out of a balloon to the maximum here for Tyrone Tracy rest of season for me.
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty surprised. I mean, I was a big Tyrone Tracy fan last year. I thought he played really well, but yeah, today, I mean, it was pretty much a 50-50 split, you know. And again, like, it wasn't game script dependent. It didn't matter kind of where they were on the field, where was on the clock. Like, they just kind of rotated them, you know. And I feel like there was kind of no rhyme or reason into how they were used. I thought Singletary looked good actually on his carries. I think he had a couple explosives, made a guy miss on one of his runs. I thought was really impressive. But neither did much of anything. As you mentioned, Jackson Dart led the team in rushing. But in a game where you expect Tyrone Tracy to be the guy, he very much wasn't the guy. And this is looking like a committee, which to me, it doesn't really make sense. Tyrone Tracy is a younger player. He's a more explosive player. Like, feed him. Let's just ride him out. But I mean, if today's, you know, gonna be the story of the season, they're both gonna be very tough to trust in fantasy.
The schedule's doing him no favors. Like, we go into next week, we have to assume it's going to be a near 50-50 split. Unfortunately, that's the game against the Bears where we'd want to start him. And then after we get some answers there, then you get the Packers, the Lions, and the Patriots. And no team has been able to run on any of those defenses except for Rico Dowdle today with the Packers. So it's just one of these situations where, like, I don't know how you would have been able to predict this one. Like, he was being used before Cam Scott had his injury. He was the clear bell cow last season. All of a sudden, things just kind of changed. So hopefully this is just kind of one game blimp, but this is very terrifying stuff when you combined the schedule, and then this will always be in the back of my mind, even if we get Tyrone Tracy with a better game the following week.
We literally can't suggest starting Tyrone Tracy until he goes and owns 75% of the work in one of these games. And like, who knows if that's next week? Who knows if that's 3 weeks from now? Who knows if that's at all this season? It's just, it sucks from a fantasy lens.
Other note I had for this real quick. Michael Williams, torn ACL. We're talking about a top 12 draft pick. I mean, that's their top 4 edge rushers who are either out for the season or out week to week right now. That's brutal.
Yeah.
And he really needs to improve in terms of his pure pass rushing stuff too. Obviously, as a run defender,
super young.
Great so far this season, but he was a bit raw when it came to that. So yeah, I mean, that's Nick Bosa. Obviously, Yetur Gross-Matos has missed time. Michael Williams, and then most importantly, Bryce Huff should be back here in a couple weeks. Yeah. They're definitely missing him at this point.
MetLife turf, another victim.
The Pittsburgh Steelers were 3-point home underdogs, and they ended up beating the unbeatable Indianapolis Colts 27-20. I didn't watch a single play of this. This is going to be a whole bunch of what the heck? How did that work?
Yep.
But man, Aaron Rodgers, just 203 passes and 1 touchdown. Jalen Warren does have 2 scores, but on 31 rushing yards. I guess it goes to Daniel Jones looking like every other year Daniel Jones, with 5 total turnovers in this game, 2 lost fumbles, and 3 interceptions. He had not looked anything like that in the previous 8 games, but in the 9th game, he popped up here.
Shit happens in the NFL, and I think on the flip side, the Steelers defense hasn't been able to stop anybody, and then this is the game where they beat the team that's, you know, like on pace with the Patriots of 2007 on a per drive basis. So this will be the first game I'm going to go back and watch on all 22 on Monday. You don't win in the NFL losing the turnover battle 6-1. So that's the reason why they lost this game. It's actually pretty impressive that despite the turnover battle being that way, that they only lost by 7 points there. But yeah, getting down to the bottom of this on how the turnovers happened, because for the most part, I mean, I'm looking at the box score, we had 2 115-yard receivers on the Colts side of this. So they were moving the ball. It was just coming down. You can't turn the football over.
I mean, when you're down 17-7 at half and then also don't score in the third quarter, to me, that's how Jonathan Taylor can get limited to 14 carries for 45 yards. And then that makes you drop back 55 times with Daniel Jones. That is certainly not what Shane Steichen wants to do. This, again, I'll go back and watch it. Haven't yet. Highly doubt we'll get another 5 turnover performance here from Daniel Jones in the future, even if, you know, some people had held out for 9 weeks and said, oh, here, see, this is what I expected of him all season long. He's been great week to week. I mean, the Colts, this is the chink in the armor, I think, that some people might have been waiting for, because look, their wins this season have been against the Dolphins, the Broncos, the Titans, the Raiders, the Cardinals, the Chargers, and the Titans. They do get the Chiefs and the Texans and the Jaguars and the Seahawks coming up here, but I don't know. I want to watch this one. That's for sure. We did get Alec Pierce. Go ahead.
Just on that side, they're beating bad teams, but they beat them by 1 million. I think the hard part for this team is when the game script is not so favorable, how does Daniel Jones react? And I think that's maybe the concern here. It's like, okay, we're not winning with RPOs and when you're not getting like crazy blitzes and stuff. But when you're out of that structure, what does it look like? And there's obviously some more things to kind of sort out here.
When I'm confused, I speak in run-on sentences. So we'll just close it with Alec Pierce getting 6 for 115, Michael Pittman 9 for 115, and Josh Downs 6 for 57 and 1. And then, Tyler Warren is the one who's left behind on 7 targets, 5 receptions, and 26 yards. I mean, DK Metcalf, only 2 catches for 6 yards, and you win 27-20.
Crazy.
Incredible stuff. Next game. Chargers eke out a win on the road in Tennessee, 27-20. I think the big talking point here, while Justin Herbert is obviously the leading passer, he's also the leading rusher with 9 carries, 57 yards, and 1 touchdown. I think like all 8 or 7 of his opening carries were 100% successful. Just crazy stuff. Oronde Gadsden, the leading receiver. But most of all, moving forward for this Chargers team, Joe Alt goes down again with a high ankle sprain, and it's already being reported that he will have to have surgery to fix this one, and that will sideline him indefinitely.
Yeah, I'm guessing that means until the playoffs start, and if we're lucky, we get him back for that. Pretty wild game. This game was pretty close at halftime and all the way throughout. Once again, they're just looking at the box score. Oronde Gadsden leads the team in snaps among all the guys that we care about in the offense. It was good to see Quentin Johnson get home on an absolute laser beam pass from Justin Herbert. Almost like we saw that in the corner of the end zone, one of the best passes of the game. And then Keenan, like we've talked about, he's the one that's been losing snaps in general at the expense of either a fullback who scored a touchdown here for Trey Harris, who mixed in for another 30 snaps here. So of all the guys, Keenan Allen's the one that's playing fewer snaps, and he would be the guy that I'm going to trust the least out of this top 4 targets. But just in general, they're just not going to be as efficient if they don't have Joe Alt there.
And again, it's totally unpredictable. Fantasy football is when against a Titans run defense that has really struggled without, Jeffrey Simmons, that Kamani Vidal only gets 30 yards on 12 carries. That's not fun. Yeah, Keenan Allen, as you said, is the one who's losing snap. I mean, Trey Harris in single wide receiver stuff as more of a big body and blocker. It's kind of now the Gadsden, McConkey, QJ, Keenan still, and then Trey Harris. But like the fact that Keenan's just not playing as many snaps is a big deal. And yeah, Mr. DK, after being wide receiver, 16 and 14 over the last 2 weeks, now catches 1 pass for 5 yards. I have nothing else to add here.
Yeah, I need to go back and watch this Titans offense. Eventually, it's pretty low on my priority list as usual. Nothing else to say.
All right, let's go back to Thursday Night Football and close with this one. I mean, obviously, everyone remembers the Ravens beating the Dolphins 28-6. Lamar Jackson, 4 touchdowns. Zay Flowers, 64 yards. Mark Andrews back in his red zone touchdown ways with 2 catches, 22 yards, and 2 scores. Rashad Bateman and Charlie Kolar also get a score. But I think the main conversation here is, one, the Ravens are on track after, Tyler Huntley being the Bears last week and Lamar Jackson being the Dolphins this week. At 3-5, they still are definitely in the hunt, especially in the AFC North. But the Miami Dolphins big picture conversation, I know you've been reading up a lot on this one. So give us the lay of the land on it right now.
Dolphins fire their GM. That's been overdue. They could say mutually parting ways. I'm sure that the GM wanted to give up his multi-million-dollar job, and this was not a forced mutual parting. But yeah, they were so overdue. They're going to be sellers at the deadline. I wouldn't be surprised if Jalen Phillips or somebody else gets moved. Jalen Waddle's been kind of thrown around there, but they have made some commitments to Mike McDaniel. He's kind of going to be the surviving guy here. I think they'll eventually bench Tua. Rap Sheet already mentioned that they might give Quid Ewers or Zach Wilson a look at the end of the season here, but that Mike McDaniel's, they believe in him now for next year and moving forward after that. So that was, I think, pretty bold of a report on November 2nd with many weeks to go. I think for the most part, the Dolphins have shown a lot of fight, even though the record's been the way it is. They've been dealing with a lot of injuries everywhere. They're just not good. I think it's a quarterback problem. That's been an offensive line problem. But then the defensive pieces they've been brought in over the last couple off seasons have really just not panned out. So they're kind of trending towards what I would do, where I would keep Mike McDaniel unless I find some other coach I would like really fall in love with. But what coach wants to go sign up with this roster? So I would run it out with Mike McDaniel, see if you can get a rookie quarterback and kind of do like the Michael Penix to Kirk Cousins thing. And I think that's ultimately what the Dolphins are going to do here. And I think that's generally the right decision and the one that I would be rolling with.
I think with Chris Greer being fired, it has been reported that they're more likely to be sellers now. That should be their edge rushing unit in terms of Jalen Phillips, who seems to be the highest commodity out there among the edge rushers and most likely to be moved. Bradley Chubb has also been mentioned. I think Chop Robinson left this game with a head injury, which really sucks. And then the price tags are still quite high, it sounds like, with Jalen Waddle. I think it was reported a first round plus would be needed. We'll see if that changes. But I don't think you can really move Jalen Waddle as like, because he's still a really solid piece for this team, even if he's, very, very highly paid.
Yeah, especially if you plan on bringing Mike McDaniel back, where you're going to bring him back and have nobody else to build around. You're going to get rid of Tyreek Hill. I think the Tua contract's like too big to move. So I think there's a chance that he kind of like, I'm talking about with Kirk Cousins, where he's a huge cap hit. He's your backup, and they're going to pick some rookie or a Kyler Murray, or you name the guy that's going to come into Miami. But you just can't win with Tua. Like, he's just so bad out of structure. And if you don't have the right pieces around him, or if just the offense feels stagnant because you can only do so much with Tua, I think that's more of a roster/quarterback conversation than a play calling one.
All right. That does it. Mondays, waivers, Hayden and or Jacob will still be doing that show with you. Also, Tuesdays, we are going to be recording Stats vs. Film slightly later because of the trade deadline. So as soon as the trade deadline hits, all the moves, just think on over to Stats vs. Film, and we'll have insight into what it means for the team that traded them and what it means for the player landing on that roster. That does it for us. Shout out to Weaves and Moshe behind the scenes, Hayden in front of the camera, and we are on to week 10. Up the Villa. We'll talk to y'all soon. See ya.